Hi everyone, welcome to the OLM community meeting and let me share my screen so that we can go through the agenda we have. The first ones are RFCs. We have, actually this is also RFC, not a brief. We have two RFCs for review. The first one is optional field to mark a cluster catalog is disabled or enabled, and the Regi consensus date is 10th of October. We have shared about this RFC last week, also reminded today in the channel about this RFC. So if you need more time or if you have any comments, reviews, please let us know. The next one is RFC catalog expandable interface. Jordan put this RFC I think yesterday in the channel, and we need feedback till October 11th, and please take time and give feedback on these two RFCs. If you want to discuss more about any of these RFCs, please add a topic in our agenda and then we can talk about it more. Moving to the next topic, which is we need to do our usual 1.0 sync. So let's go through it, see anything changed there. So we have a new PR for the review. Yeah, this is the RFC which I think, yeah, the same RFC which Jordan has put together, and it's already mentioned in the agenda. So this RFC under review, which makes sense. The strategy is all right. Moving to the implementing, this is currently on pause. The designing column is a new one. Jordan, I guess I don't know if Jordan is here or not. I think he was trying to put together a designing column. I think that's why I can see the designing column here. If anyone else has this information about this designing column, please let us know. But that's my memory. What I remember is Jordan was trying to put together a column which will tell us about features that are actively in designing. Moving to the no status column. Yesterday we assigned this thing to Todd, and zero rollouts are completed before starting a new upgrade.
So I just dragged it over. So if you refresh, it is actually showing, it should show up and ready for review.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So this is in which repo? Operator
Yeah,
control?
that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. So let's review this and get it merged. So that's mostly about it. And then we have a discussion about this. I think the version catalog, the HTTP interface, which probably will put. This is the implementation side. Yeah, that's fine. Which probably whether it should be a blocker for 1.0 or not. So I think let's go to the discussion. So that should be part of our roadmap check-in. So if I do roadmap check-in and go to 1.0 epics, so we have proposed release blockers, and we already have finished the public API. So let me move it down. Then we have Jordan, which one you want to put it in the blocker? If I hear, is it the implementation of it or the it's part of this RFC. Okay, the API you should finalize. I'm trying to see which one we should discuss. Probably the RFC one, maybe. Not entirely sure.
I don't see Jordan in the call.
Yeah, let's talk about this one. Anything is fine, probably. Sometimes when I share the screen through Zoom, it becomes hard to copy paste. Yeah, so this is the issue we need to talk about, whether this is actually a proposed release blocker or not, which is catalog D HTTPS interface RFC. What do you guys think? Any comment? So Bryce, I think you have reviewed the RFC once. What's your opinion on this one?
I think it depends. If there's a way that we could do it such that we could version it without it being a breaking change, then I would say it's not a release blocker. But it seems like the RFC is opinionated in a way that would require a breaking change, so it makes sense that it's proposed as a release blocker. I haven't spent too much more time thinking about alternatives than that could potentially be non-release blockers, so I don't have a strong opinion on this yet. But based on conversations that's happened so far, it could be. By the way, if you're saying anything, Lala, you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know when I'm got muted myself. I'm so sorry. Um, I guess I've been talking and you guys are not listening anything. So I was saying, for example, any URL which basically serves schema uh, should be versioned. Otherwise, what happens is when you change the content of the schema, the client should break. For an example, we have in OpenShift, we have update service, which also serves schema, and we actually have versioned it. Yeah. Because anytime you change the schema, there is no other, I mean, I don't know, obviously I'm not expert in this area, but I think this is one of the easiest way to communicate to clients that the schema has changed, like, basically making sure the client doesn't break when you change the schema, right? So you just change the schema, you change the URL to v2, and the clients do not break. And any client who need the new information can actually move to the new content URL. That is very logical in my opinion. So because you are actually going to 1.0 release, in my opinion, actually this is a blocker. and we need to solve it before we do 1.0 release.
Sure. It's reasonable.
Looks like I think other folks have not much opinion on this, so I'll go ahead and move it into approved release blockers. If you have any other opinion, please speak up and let us know. We have one more proposed release blockers, which is E2E error already exists in the namespace, cannot be managed by operator controller. We had a discussion, I think, last community call, but we did not come to a conclusion.
I thought the conclusion was that because this is an E2E testing thing, it's not actually a release blocker, but it would be nice to have it fixed.
Yeah, we basically kind of in between, like it's not, I think it's not a release blocker, but I think we also do not want to move it out of proposed release blockers because we want also to get it basically fixed. So it's like an intermediate state, right? I'm not calling it as a approved release blocker, but then we are also, I think discussed last time, to keep it here so that we'll get some eyes and hopefully we'll fix it. Basically good to have.
Yeah, I mean, we could just move it to the non-blockers section. I mean, it's still a bug that we want fixed in our E2E logic, but or that's causing flakes, but it's not something that should block our 1.0 release.
Right. This is the E2E kind test, right? Or is it the E2E upgrade?
I think it's the E2E kind.
Right. Yeah, this is something also it would be good if somebody wants to pick it up and fix it. Even if we don't consider this is a blocker, we definitely need, it's good to have for sure. I'm moving this to non-blocker. Okay, that's all for the proposed release blockers epic. Going into our board, we have the APIs, the documentation, all implementing. I don't think we have anything left on the documentation. Pierre, can we close this one, or because I think the initial goal of this epic, we kind of achieved it. I don't see anything here which is not done. What do you guys think? And anything which comes up, we can definitely take it up in new issues and fix it. So anyone opposed to the idea of closing this documentation issue? Epic, sorry. This is great. Cool. So we have three epics which is implementing, which is the API review, which almost very close. And once I think the catalog content URL stuff is done, I think we should be able to submit for review. So also wanted to talk about upstream a 1.0 alpha release. What do you guys think about doing a alpha release now? because we have most of the code. Obviously, the catalog D expandable interface is not there, but I think for alpha release, we can definitely do alpha release, and then in parallel it would have been it would be added, and then we can go for a beta release or a kind of a GA release. Any opinions on whether we should go for alpha release or not?
Um, I think, yeah, I'm for creating an alpha release. I just don't know as far as timeline what we're looking at.
So we can do it right now because um, most of the code we wanted for 1.0 is in, so we can actually go for alpha release as soon as possible. Like we can do it right now. I don't think anything is blocking us for alpha release.
Can we? What's the expectation with an alpha release? Would our APIs be at V1? So if you install an alpha release and eventually go to beta and then go to the actual 1.0.0, the like C or Ds are all the same version? Are they like what are the expectations between the way things are set up for a 1.0 alpha?
So alpha is, I think, is mostly like the it's kind of a signal to the community. We're very close to 1.0 release, and it's ideally should be like release candidates. So before doing a GA release, if you do the alpha releases and people test it and find bugs, community can test it. When they find bugs, then we basically fix them before doing actually a GA release. Doing a GA release like in the first shot probably not a great idea. So because might find blocker bugs. Ideally, we should do pre-release. It's like a pre-release, right? It's not a real release, like a pre-release, and we basically giving a signal to community that please take it up, test it, run it, and tell us whether it makes sense or not. Are you finding bugs in your environments? If yes, please report. We can fix it. The other intention is making sure that our release mechanisms work properly, because I think we have been doing respective releases in each of the GitHub Git repositories, but now that we do alpha release, we should actually, I think we have Slack thread and Adam suggested something, can't remember. And then we need to even send an email to the mailing thread, probably even publish a blog about alpha release. It's basically all release machinery into process, and we're basically getting ready, making ourselves ready for the next maybe alpha and then beta or alpha 2 release, depending on how we want to go for it. So before the G release, final 1.0 release, we should be doing some pre-releases, which should help us. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I get the reason for an alpha release and all that kind of stuff. I guess my biggest question, so maybe I need to rephrase my question.
No, I think I
Is
got
it
your question, Bryce. I think you're talking about specifically with API versioning. Is I think
well,
it's agnostic. It's orthogonal to this thing.
well, let me maybe go to a different question of what is the expectation we have for our users to be able to potentially upgrade from an alpha release to the actual 1.0 release? Are there allowed to be breaking changes on the user side from the 1.0 alpha to the 1.0?
Yeah, that's a good
See, for an
question.
alpha release, you should be able, can break. I mean, that's the terminology for alpha. I think that once we get to, if we were to have a beta, then we have to we can't break from beta to actual release. I don't know how that fits with respect to versioning of the APIs, however. I mean, I think they should follow each other, but that's probably not how it actually works.
So I am not very clear on, I think what Todd said, my memory is very similar to that, but we can cross check. Definitely not for production.
I think we're getting hung up on the number here. Like, we don't have a stable release at all. Just keep iterating on that. Like, just call it whatever, right? Like, Joe's point in the thread in Slack was like, we don't have a stable release yet at all. So,
Yeah, if we're not ready, we're not ready.
yeah, like, so it's, call it whatever. It doesn't matter. Just don't call it 1.0 until it's close enough, right?
Yeah. Should we call pre-release, Adam? What you said, like I was trying to write, we need to do pre-releases till we basically reach to stable release kind of condition, or get enough confidence that we are stable and we do a stable release.
I mean, I don't know what the version's at on the project right now. I'm just increment the current version to next version, right?
So you are saying that we do not need to basically do a 1.0 numbers, doesn't matter that much. We can just continue the way we're doing and then do a final stable release.
Yeah, if we're totally unsure about the API stability, that would be the route that I would go, right?
I think that was also the one of the question I had in my mind. When you say you are doing a stable 1.0 release, what does that mean? Because respective versions we have in the GitHub repositories, we are releasing the respective versions. So when you say 1.0, does it mean 1.0 consists of X operator controller version and Y catalog D version?
They would both be 1.0 in my opinion, until it's a mono repo. But then their binaries are still going to get a version, I think. I don't remember where we landed on that, but
I think we shouldn't, like, it doesn't matter that much to have an alpha release because we are releasing now. We are like 0 point something. We're releasing those versions, and we can call them alpha releases. Alpha release is just a version metadata. We release frequently with iterate, and once we're ready to cut the 1.0 release, we do that. So you see, yeah, there was one 4 days ago, and they are not backward compatible with each other, and it is okay.
Well, anything following Semver, anything V0 is never backwards, should never be considered backwards compatible.
Yeah, exactly.
So I looked back at the Semver docs, and it looks like pre-release versions indicate that the version is unstable and might not satisfy the intended compatibility requirements. But I guess my concern is if we throw our API in there as v1 alpha 1 in v1.0 alpha, and then in v1.0 we change it to v1, like that's technically a breaking change on the user. It seems like that's probably okay, but, and like Adam said, maybe it's not worth getting hung up on this. I just want to make sure that we're not going to do something that we need to think about adding conversion or anything like that for a user based on expectations of how we're versioning. And if that's not the case, then sure, do whatever.
So when we do the stable version, we're going to mark these versions as 1.0, right?
Yeah, when we do the stable release, it'd be 1.0.0.
I think alpha releases, beta releases, like I don't think we gain much from them, but we maybe should consider a release candidate of one point once we have more or less stable API. So it sounds like we have one last thing to finalize, and we will be able to look into a release candidate. But I think alpha releases, they don't help that much. It's
Right.
just we're just going to potentially create some headache for us while we focusing on finalizing this thing.
Okay. So I think that's a good idea. I think I agree to that. So we continue our release, whatever we're doing right now. There is no change till we have all our API changes, and then we call it a release candidate. Right? Is my understanding correct?
Yeah, this is what I suggest.
And how do we release a release candidate? Is it going to be September, right? So we say like 1.0 RC1 or something, 1.0.0 hyphen RC1, something like that, if we're following Semver.
So Go releaser, anything after a hyphen, it treats as a non-GA release for a generic term.
It should be considered a pre-release.
Yeah, but non-GA pre-release type deal. So you can call it alpha 1 or beta 1 or RC1 or whatever, but anything that you put in the hyphen tag, it treats it as, yeah, pre-release, non-GA release.
Yeah, so my thinking is that we will eventually, once we have stabilize our APIs, we rename them to V1. If I remember correctly, we agreed that we rename alpha to V1. We do all the prep work and everything basically for proper release of 1.0.0. We do all that, and we cut our C tag, our C1 or whatever, and release it and give it some time, and then release the proper version. It might end up being just retagging the same commit if we do not spot any issues. Same commit as RC. Maybe there will be some bug fixes, maybe not. We'll see. So that's how I, on a very high level, see it.
Have we discussed about whether we would use branching at all for releases, or is it going to be after 1.0, like any changes in the way we do releases now, or it's going to be the same thing even after 1.0? Like, do you have let's say we release 1.0 RC1, and then we think everything, probably just we can fix one blocker bug, but the rest of the merges probably we don't want to take it for 1.0. The current format we cannot do that, right? Because everything is merged into main, and
Some of the other repos, we have created branches at tag points for basically what you're talking about. And those branches do not need to be created at the time of tag creation. They can be created as necessary.
so it looks like
So, right. I mean, I am a person in favor of the main line being the primary development branch and the latest, what is considered the latest release, moving toward, I guess it would refer to as a minor version, and branches would be used for patch versions.
Yeah, so the other repos pretty much are consistent, where for a given version, let's say it'll be a 1.x, and we'll have a branch for that. Everything still goes into main first, and then if it needs to be backported into that, it gets backported. And then after that, a tag is cut for, let's call it 1.1, 1.0.1 release if we're doing that. And then the reason why a lot of those repos have that is because they have websites that need to maintain the documentation for the given version, right? So that 1.x branch is for the 1.x documentation. So, I mean, you can look at any one of the other projects' release strategy for that. So it just depends on if documentation is in this repo or a separate repo or all of that, how branching kind of needs to happen.
We don't need to do anything special here. We can follow whatever other projects do. I mean, I basically agree with you, Adam. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I think we need to decide something, like agree on something and just follow it. We do not have to decide it today. But I think something to discuss in future, and maybe so that our automations can also accordingly set it up, right? I mean, the GitHub pages serving from currently mainline. So if you want, like Aaron said, depending on what process we agree to, the documentation and everything would be impacted, like in the sense where we'll render stuff for what version. Cool. I think.
Yeah, I guess one caveat to that, I'm specifically speaking about the Netlify piece in that, right? Because it needs a specific branch to be able to publish a given releases documentation.
Okay, so I kind of summarized it. If you guys don't agree, please fix it. And that should be, that sounds good to me. So we kind of covered our agenda, and so don't have anything else for today. If anybody has anybody have any other topic, please speak up. Else, we can call it a meeting. Cool. Thanks everyone for your time, and talk to you soon. Have a good day, evening.
See you.
See you. Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.